Hi, how's it going? I'm Marlene. Thanks for wandering by. So I today popped on and decided that what I'd like to talk about is the evolution of my studies with the Thoth Tarot. I have discussed in a couple other of my videos that I made a commitment this year to study the Thoth and to pull a Thoth card or work with the Thoth in some way every single day this year. And now we're in July, so I'm proud to say that I have stuck to that commitment, and I've really been working with the Thoth for, 6 months now, 7 months now, or 6.5 at this point. And I know a lot of my buddies, a lot of folks that I get to talk to in various tarot groups and social media spots. Thoth they are also thinking about or interested in or have started some study of the Thoth. Of the Thoth Tarot. A lot of folks like me, began their tarot journey learning learning Waite-Smith, and then have branched out to the Thoth. Other people have come from Thoth to Waite-Smith, in other different directions. But all that to say that today what I'd like to do is kind of share with you where I am, how I started, where I am now, and some different practices and resources and things that I use kind of to check in with myself, and also to give you some information if you are interested in starting a Thoth study yourself. I don't think that in order to read the Thoth Tarot that you need to it's a requirement that you delve into some kind of deep, intense, long study. You don't have to. I personally am a total nerd and I love learning new things. And so for me, it's been an investigation and a research and a study and reading, and all of that has been enjoyable for me, which is probably why I've been able to commit to it for this long. So I like it. So that's why I do it. You don't have to. Definitely don't have to do this the way that I do. I just wanted to kind of share what I've been doing, and like I said, check in with myself and then provide maybe some resources for those of you that would be interested. So first things first, I want to show you what I decided to do back in January when I decided to get into the Thoth study. I bought a few things. So first, I got just a regular planner that has, just a regular calendar planner that has the month and then it has the days. That's all. Nothing fancy. I like the cover. Where did I get this? Walgreens, Barnes & Noble. So basically what I decided to do was that I was going to make a note of every single Thoth card that I pulled every day, and then in the dailies, this section, and I won't show you exactly all my writing because some of it can be personal, but in these sections, what I did was it has varied month to month, and so I can share some of that with you. But at the very beginning, what I did is I pulled my card and then I looked it up in one of the books that I'm studying, and then I wrote down quotes and then my interpretation of what the card means. Very small, very kind of bare bones, just reading a lot and just making, noting some impressions and what I think it means. Also because my learning, the first tarot that I worked with is the Waite Smith, I was also making lots of comparisons. So I got this notebook, and then I also purchased the large, this is available mass market on Amazon or anywhere where you can find, you know, tarot cards. This is the large version of the Thoth. I won't go show you. Mine's in order still, but it's the one with the light kind of whitish gray borders, and that's available. I also, another big impetus for studying the Thoth is that I purchased the Outgrow Yourself Tarot and Oracle, and this is a Thoth-based tarot, and you can use it both as a tarot, or you can use it as an oracle. But when I first started, probably January, February, let me see, I can even just look in here and tell you. When I first started, no, I didn't get this until, oh no, I got this in January. So I started pulling, this card. So I would draw from the Thoth, and then I would pull its corresponding card from the Outgrow Yourself Oracle, and I would write down the oracle message up above as part of my study inside here. That's what I would do. And so these oracle messages really helped me to understand, because they're really clever in, you know, next to the meanings of the cards. So this is the Ten of Swords, cruelty, and the keyword. So yeah, so I used the OG, which, like Lisa and Don Michelle say, the OG Thoth large, and then I and the Outgrow Yourself for quite some time. That was what I was using, and I was happy to. So that's what I was using in terms of decks. And I also got the small Thoth and the pocket Thoth. And this is just for me. The smaller Thoth, when I got mostly, and I've used when I really want to like shuffle and do more than one card draws, because it is smaller and more manageable. I'll show you if you have not yet seen it, but it's, you know, it's smaller and more manageable in terms of being able to shuffle. And so I like having something like this, you know, to have for like larger readings. And then I mostly bought the pocket Thoth because it's ridiculously cute and teeny, but also I like to have mini decks. See, I like to have mini decks for outdoors. So eventually what I'd like to do is get a tin or a bag or something that I can put my mini in, so that it can travel with me. I don't feel prepared yet to like do readings on the fly with the Thoth. I still want it to be this year part of my my study. So I haven't brought that one out on the porch with me yet. I do readings on the porch a lot with my tin deck, so the pocket Thoth hasn't made it out there yet, but I'm hoping that by next year I will. So yeah, so those are the decks. Those are the Thoth decks, and where I started, the Outgrow Yourself and the actual original Thoth. Now I want to share with you the first books that I got, and really where I started in terms of my learning process. So I got these first. So I got the Book of Thoth and Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot. I read this pretty much all the way through all of the information before Lon Milo Duquette gets into the actual cards themselves. I read all of that through probably a couple of times because I kept going back and rereading. And you know, I highlighted, I don't think I made notes in the margin, but I definitely highlighted. And then as I was reading this, I would go in and out, and I still go in and out of the Book of Thoth. It's not a book that I can read, you know, cover to cover. I have to take it in you know, like chunks. It's, you know, it reminds me a lot of like philosophy texts that I read in college, that, like, you know, you need a minute to like sit with it line by line, because it's very dense and there's a lot packed in there. Well, that's what dense means. There's a lot packed in there to unpack. And so I'm not always in a like philosophy reading headspace. So it's kind of a lot. So, but understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot, like the reading it as I was starting out really gave me the foundation. And then obviously when I pulled a card, I would open to that card page and read about it and, you know, draw from it. And then I would, you know, make note of it in my daily planner. And also another thing that I was doing from the start was, sorry, I've got this like giant pile of books, and the big one that I want to show you is on the bottom. So another thing that I was doing was I was listening to the podcast of Fortune's Wheelhouse the hosts are M.M. Moline and T. Susan Chang, P. Susan Chang. Oh gosh, T. Susan Chang. My God, their names are right in front of me. T. Susan Chang and M.M. Moline have an amazing podcast, Fortune's Wheelhouse, that goes card by card, and it's a study of the card from the perspective of the Golden Dawn. So that includes the Waite Smith as well as the Thoth. But for me, it was a really great place to start. So I have a commute to work. So listening podcasts is easy for me to do. So I would listen to Fortune's Wheelhouse. So I pull my daily card. And then I didn't listen to the podcast in order. I started listening to the podcast out of order, based on the cards that I pulled. And also I got Tarot Deciphered, which is giant, meaty book. I like it. Some people don't. I really liked it. As a companion to the podcast. It's really, you know, I'm not sure what the experience of it would be like if you're not also listening to the podcast, but it is like it's like the notes of each episode is in here. And that's what I really like. So like, I didn't have to take notes on the episodes because I could just listen to that episode in my morning and evening commutes to work, and then, you know, come to this, and, you know, reflect on what I learned and, you know, and highlight and things like that. It's a reasonable price for the amount of information that you get. It gives you for every single card. Let me see. Let me go to a particular card. So like, for example, the Hermit, it gives you the name, the Golden Dawn titles of the cards, which I absolutely adore. So the Hermit is also known as the Prophet of the Eternal, the Magus of the Voice of Light. It gives you the card number, signs and dignities. I still would need to learn what dignities are, but, you know, that's it. Hebrew letters, I haven't yet learned. I know some, but I haven't really learned all of that yet. The Hebrew letter meaning, the path on the tree of life, which is, I've learned some of that as well. And that's only for the majors on the path. The color scales, so that's really important for every card. Themes and keywords, so that's really in that spot where there's themes and keywords. I'll hold this up to show you, like what it looks like. Can you see? Yeah. Themes and keywords. That section is probably the most important for me, because in gathering information from different sources, kind of having like this little summary, and as well as my comparison between Thoth and Rider Waite Smith, I like to have these, and I often would just highlight the ones that really stuck out to me the most to kind of cement the my understanding and the meaning. Then it has the astrology or element associated with the card, the mythology or alchemy associated with the card. It has some depictions. I think it is from the card pictures that are in here are Tabula Mundi, which is the deck that was created by M.M. Moline, which I also have, and the Waite Smith. Now they didn't use the actual Thoth image in this book because I think the group that has that retains the rights to the Thoth Tarot imagery is very selective about where they let that imagery be published. At least that's my understanding of it. Anyway, so Tarot Deciphered, I really do think that if you are gonna study, especially if you're coming from, like me, having learned Waite Smith first, this is really a really great resource. But I do know some folks that it didn't help them, or they felt like it was lacking maybe in information. For me, it wasn't. It had like kind of just like the right amount of information that I needed as I was, pulling daily cards, listening to the podcast, and kind of having this like summary and companion to the podcast. And I probably for 4 months at least into March, I was definitely still reading from this daily and listening to the podcast. Not daily. The podcast I would dip in and out of. Sometimes I would listen to a whole episode, sometimes not, whatever was working for me. But yeah, so this also gives like I said, mythology, alchemy. It has the depictions of the cards. Then it has the Kabbalah, and that's especially important. I mean, that's important for all the cards, but especially the path for the majors. So the Kabbalah, the Tree of Life. And then then it gets into the Waite Smith symbolism, then the Thoth symbolism. It gives you a section on related cards, which that's something I so want to get into and have memorized, so that when I draw cards, I know their relationship to one another, but there's so many. Anyway, and then it gives you advanced concepts for further exploration. So more, if they reference a myth or a different, for example, the lyrics of a very old folk ballad, John Barleycorn. It's, something that they referenced that relates to the Hermit in some way. Crowley, and all different kinds of stuff. So this is, and like I said, my favorite bit are the themes and keywords. I spent lots of time kind of going through those themes and keywords to determine, where I landed with the meanings of the tarot. I also then got a few more books, so I'll share those with you, and some of them I've been using more than others. It kind of rotates in and out. I also got the Gerd Ziegler's Mirror of the Soul, and I really started, this is definitely in order. Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot, the Duquette book, the Book of Thoth, the Tarot Deciphered, and the podcast are were my starting points. Once I started to feel more familiar, and I think somewhere in February, I I separated my deck by the cards that I had already pulled. And in February and March, I think, in February and March, I, I took out cards that I had already studied and then just started shuffling and drawing from the cards that I had not yet studied, because I didn't, just for a time, I didn't want to get repeats, because I just wanted to get through the entire 78 cards in a study and then go back to, pulling for the day. So I did that, and I think by the end of February, mid-March, I had studied I had, at least read something from somewhere or listened to about every single particular card. And I mean, that by no means makes me an expert. It's just I wanted to kind of get through everything first and then take another go around, which is what I did. And I think I was still very much having the Outgrow Yourself as a, let me look at March. Yeah, I still had the Outgrow Yourself next to it every single day until, I think I didn't stop doing that until like April. Anyway, so after I had gotten through all 78 cards at least once through, I really started digging into the Mirror of the Soul. And I really, really enjoy this book because for the purpose of like my own daily reading and not necessarily as much as a study and to like determine, what I like. It's not really for me a study, although it does definitely give you lots to study from. Gives you the card, the keywords, see, I like to highlight, gives you the keywords, then it describes the card itself and the imagery, some symbolism. I think that this author is heavily influenced by the astrology within the cards, and so I feel like where they end up with the meanings has a lot to do with the astrological correspondences. That's just my take on it. But regardless, it gives you the keywords, a little bit of a description of the image, indications. So like for your reading, what I guess it could mean. I guess that's what the indication is. A question, so that could be like a journal prompt or a suggestion, so maybe like actionable steps, something to think about, and then an affirmation. So it's really great. I really enjoy this for like especially when I don't have time to like do in-depth study and think about what every single bit of symbolism means, but I want to have my connection to the Thoth, and I want to have an interpretation or something to help me interpret my reading. The Mirror of the Soul is really great. I continue to use it. It's still sitting out. Some of these other books like Tarot Deciphered, I don't pull that every day anymore. I haven't been, listening to the podcast constantly anymore. So I might go back into it, but for now, because I feel comfortable with my 1, 2, or 3 at the most card draws, this is the book that I'm using. I really started using in February, March, and have kept using kind of consistently since then. Then kind of alongside the Mirror of the Soul, and also what replaced my understanding, because I kind of stopped pulling understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth, and I got Lisa Pepez, who is in my Thoth study group, myself, Lisa Pepez, Dawn Michelle from Boho Tarot, and Danny of Danny Mystic. It's our Thoth study group. I'll link to our our live chat or that we did on Lisa's channel below, or in the cards as well. But Lisa found she's the one who recommended it to me. The Secrets of the Thoth Tarot by Marcus Katz. The only thing about this series is that it is in 3 volumes. But you can also get it on Kindle. Or it replaced the Understanding Aleister Crowley's the Duquette books, or the Duquette book, because I really just preferred Marcus Katz's interpretation of the cards. So like, let me grab from one of the minors. So this is volume 2, and it's about the minors. So it gives you, and I highlight like crazy. So it gives you the card, the title, so the 8 of Discs, Prudence, the image, the astrological correspondence. It's what Katz does really well, and Duquette does well, but Duquette is kind of cheeky, funny, and doesn't really, I mean, I guess it's in like layman's terms if you're not like very familiar with all of the occult stuff. He tries to reinterpret it, but Marcus Katz, the way that he writes, I understand it. It's easier for me. Let's just say that. He reinterprets the Book of Thoth. So he goes through kind of piecemeal and explains what, Crowley meant in the Book of Thoth for each card. Then he talks about, for example, for the minors, what the Golden Dawn meaning is, and in a reading. So that's like, this is really the best piece. I could open up as well and just go to this section in a reading if I'm not like wanting to dive into every single little bit of symbolism, and I just kind of want to get into what the reading is. These books are great. They're great for that. There's a lot of information at the beginning and at the end of each book, especially the first one that talks about Aleister Crowley, all different kinds of stuff. But let me grab one. Let me show you one from the about the majors, because the whole first volume is just the major arcana alone. So like, this is the Magus, the magician, correspondences, the Hebrew letter and the astrological or planetary correspondences. That's the same thing. Sorry. It's the zodiac and the planets that are different. The image itself, the symbols, like a whole giant section on symbols, every single symbol, the ape, Mercury, the caduceus, the descending dove, the winged egg, the book and quill. There's a lot in the Magus. And it goes through each one. And then it does go through, it gives you key phrase, key words, and then in a reading. I also love what Katz does with with the court cards. So it gives you, with the court cards, let me grab one. So the Knight of Discs, it gives you the elemental, the zodiacal. It talks about the illustration. It gives you a description. Then it gives you the shadow meaning, the I Ching, which is exciting for me because I'm studying that now. And I had skipped all that stuff before. Now I come back around to it. And then in a reading for the courts, this is really, really good. And it gives you what it means as a person, as an influence, theme, or energy in a situation, and as a part of yourself. I love that so much. I love that so much, because I read through them all. Often I like the as a part of yourself bit. Yeah, because that's kind of what I look at the courts as people, but as a part of myself. Okay, So when I got into the cats books, I was kind of doing like, by March, April, I felt comfortable with like a very basic understanding of the cards. I had memorized the keywords of the minors. Let me see, grab one so that you know. So like, satiety, for the Ten of Cups. So I had memorized the keywords, and I felt comfortable with like a very basic keyword, key phrase for each of the cards. But I would go back in there to dip in for a little bit more study if a particular symbol stood out to me. Like, so rather than going to Tarot Deciphered or to the Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth, I would spend, and these were on my desk for quite some time to go through. Then, so then what happened, and I think we're getting into like April and May now. No, I got the the Tarot of Vampires in January and February. I consider Phantasmagoria, this is the guidebook for the Tarot of Vampires. I consider this book a part of my Thoth study books. I have read and reread the beginning chapters of this book many times before it gets into the cards. This has, for me, I probably wrote it there, the best summary of the Tree of Life. The best summary on the Tree of Life, and the Sephiroth, and the it's got these really great tables for astrology and things like that. So I often I have often pulled this out for my Kabbalah, to understand the Kabbalistic Tree of Life in relationship to the Thoth. So that's what I've done with that one. And I have, I don't have it with me all the time, but like I said, I have read and reread that first section a lot. I have a couple other books that are newer in my trajectory with my Thoth study. And I confess, I haven't used either of these a lot. Well, one of them I have more, but this one I haven't. So this is the Crowley Tarot, and this is the book by, the Handbook to the Cards by Akron and Hajo Bonshoff. Oh, I'm probably saying all that really wrong. This is really great. I'm likely to get back into this because it breaks down the symbolism quite a bit, like each symbol. Excuse me. It gives you analysis and description. It gives you like very, very bit by bit information. So like for the majors, so here the Hermit. It gives you an instinct, a goal, guiding principle, the light, the shadow, the quality. It goes over the card. It has a small section on the Book of Thoth, and then it has analysis and description, and then it goes through the symbols, right? The Hermit, the hand, the lantern, his posture, symbols surrounding, the Orphic egg, the snake staff, the Cerebus, the Pyramid of Rays. Then it goes into interpretations, background, general, consciousness, profession, so like a career interpretation, relationship interpretation, and then correlations. So these are like things that it corresponds to. So archetypes, the Hebrew letter, the number, the Tree of Life, I Ching is in here, a rune, zodiac, deities, mythology, cult sites, Sabbath, ritual, and then different associations and perceptions. There's a lot of information in here, a lot. like I said, I have not spent as much time with this, but I feel like maybe in like 1 month or 2 months, what I'd like to do is kind of like abandon the other things that I've been working with alongside the Thoth, and then grab this one and kind of dive in. The other book that I got is the Tarot Handbook by Angelus Arian. And I want to have this out every single day with my readings. I really need to, because I want to spend more time with this. This is like a very different... I feel like this is like the female perspective of the Thoth. And I have pulled it out a few times. Yeah, because you can see I've highlighted here in the Six of Swords. And it does have the Thoth image. It's just, it's not wildly different, but it's different enough from like Cats and Duquette and some other things that I have read that I find it really interesting. And I wanted to kind of have a foundation of interpretations that felt like they were really kind of reinterpreting Crowley first before I went to another place. And so in here, so it has the card, it has an explanation of the card and what it means. And then there's some very specific, like, it ties into the astrology. And then it has some very specific guidance for like timing and things like that, which I find kind of fascinating. And then, yeah, with the court cards, yeah, there's a lot more in here too, in terms of like, there's appendix, there's all kinds of stuff. And so I'm definitely, those two are books that I'm going to be delving into more. I don't have a lot to, say in terms of review of them right now. I want to talk a little bit about some Thoth, some other decks that I've gotten that are Thoth, the Thoth, and then Thoth inspired. So I've shown this before, and I guess I just did really briefly, but I don't remember when I got my greenie, but I got this greenie. I managed to snag it on eBay, and I was really excited about that. So the difference between the Thoth that's readily available mass market in this green box. This you can find on Amazon. This is the green version with the green borders. There's two of them, I think printings from, this is the 1978 one. And then there's another, I think that was printed in, I want to say it's 1983. Anyway, you can search that. When I was doing this, I was looking like, what are the different, and that's a kind of like a thing, the different Thoth boxes, box A and B and C, and things like that. So that's another rabbit hole to fall down with Thoth, with studying the Thoth and, working with Thoth. So I got the greenie, so that's part of my evolution of my Thoth studies. But I also got some Thoth inspired decks, and I have some that I haven't used alongside the Thoth, but I have some that have kind of like in playing with have become that I use in a particular way. So like I said, the Outgrow Yourself, I was using quite a bit for about 3 or 4 months, right alongside the Thoth. The Outgrow Yourself was what I was using. And then I kind of needed something else. I've talked about this deck, and it has a very specific voice for me. So I put this aside, and I wanted to have some other things that I used alongside my Thoth. And I did. Oh, I don't have it right here, but some of my my spiritual practice happens alongside the Thoth too. And I won't get into those. Maybe I'll do a separate video with those. I'll just talk about the Thoth inspired decks here. But when I was trying to figure out like when I needed kind of something else to I don't know, maybe help me, not get boxed into specific meanings or descriptions in my study of the Thoth and readings with the Thoth. So both of those things. I had these other decks and I used, I thought I was going to like replace pulling the Thoth with, oh, I'm sorry, this is the Tabula Mundi by M.M. Moline. I thought I was going to replace pulling the Thoth original with this deck, and I used it. I didn't really do that. I've used it a little bit with some other practices. I really love, I don't have the physical guidebook. I have it in I have the app for this deck as well, and I do read from that book. I love how much mythology and stories are in the guidebook. It really, like, especially for the Hanged Man, I spent quite some time with the card from this deck and reading about it, and the different myths that M.M. Moline draws. I'm trying to find the Hanged Man now, but I can't. Anyway, I do really like this deck. I don't know where it fits in all of this for me right now, because I've kind of played with it in different ways. Like I said, I've used it on its own, like with other practices. I had originally thought that, like, when I needed a break from, pulling from the Thoth original every day that I could, or maybe I thought about like putting it next to the Thoth for my daily pull to see how that kind of went together. And it's just, I don't know, it's not, it hasn't been a thing. I haven't found its spot yet. I don't know why I need it to have like a specific function, but that's what it feels like. I mean, maybe I'll just like get over myself and just use it as a tarot deck, which I sort of have. But anyway, I don't want to put it in purgatory. I kind of just want to like figure out where it can go in terms of rotation. If that makes sense to you guys, let me know. So the other one that I got is the Asura Tarot. And this one, I'm telling you guys, I'm not sure about this one either. And this one it was in my purgatory drawer. And now I pulled it out for just this video. So it's by Sarah Wheatley, and this is the pocket version or mini. There's a full-size tarot version as well. I really like it when I look at it, and it's linen cardstock, so it's so pretty, but it's very slippy. It likes to fly everywhere. Oh, I have all the quartz because I was like trying to look at the I Ching. And I think that might be the problem with this deck. Maybe I need to get the full-size version, but I don't know if I want to make that investment because I'm sort of like, unsure about this deck. There's so much going on. Like, my eyes are really, like, can't kind of take it. And I do have decks that are busy, but for some reason, this one is just like, it's like too much. Like, it's a little bit like too much for me. And I don't know, I just haven't been able to bond with it. Just like the Tabula Mundi, I took it out. I tried to use it in various ways. I tried to use it alongside the Thoth and alongside the pocket Thoth too, because they're so little and cute. I tried to use it as its own sort of thing. I tried to use it as its own tarot deck. I do love the little cards that it comes with. Like, this is like the guidebook sort of deal. It has lots of info packed in here. But I don't know. This one is still a question mark for my practice right now. But I don't know. I took it out of purgatory. I think maybe I just want to spend some time with it. Maybe the I Ching, because it has the I Ching hexagrams on the court cards. So yeah, I don't really know what's gonna happen with the Asura Tarot and the Tabula Mundi. Outgrow Yourself is definitely not going anywhere. That's kind of evolved from just a Thoth study companion or Thoth, to something that's part of my practice. But the deck that I have that still kind of lives in this space of Thoth for me as like, I did it today, and that's kind of what inspired this video that I jumped on to do, is the Sun and Moon Tarot. And I really love this deck. And it's funny because I had the tin version of this deck when I first started learning the tarot over a year ago. And it was so tiny. The images were so tiny. I had no idea what Thoth was back then. So I gave it to a friend. And then I purchased this, the Sun and Moon Tarot from, Amazon, when I was looking for Thoth-inspired decks to have as part of my study. And this one I really enjoy. And what I use this for very specifically is, like I was saying before, when I need something else other than the original Thoth imagery, which I do love, by the way. Like, I'm not saying that I tire or I'm bored with that, but sometimes the Thoth is really intense, and I also have a very kind of like spiritual experience with the Thoth when it's deep, it's deep, and it can be really intense for me. So when I need a I guess what it is when I need a break from that intensity, when I need a break from that type of mood, I still want to be connected to Thoth. I use this deck instead, and it's really great. It has the Thoth. So this is the Seven of Cups, and it has the Thoth a keyword, and the images go kind of different directions. Some of them, so for example, I had just pulled the Five of Wands. So this image is more like reminiscent of Waite Smith, but it has the Thoth keyword. So, and also these are these cartoony people that I just love. I've featured this deck before. I just like them. It's sweet, it's kind of soft, it's less intense, and it still makes me feel connected. To my Thoth study. So that's what I use the Sun and the Moon Tarot for, because I have definitely stayed committed to my Thoth a day draws, and this helps me do that when I need like a little bit of a break from the intensity of the Harris Crowley Tarot. So yeah, I think I'm looking at my big piles of things all around me. The last thing I can share with you, and then I'll go, is what I write. So I kind of showed you. So like another bit of what I do in my Thoth a Day calendar is I write the name of the card, the keyword if it's a minor, and the astrological correspondences in there. And so January, February, March all look very similar because it's one card. In March is when I started getting a little bit more experimental and breaking outside of more than one card. I started pulling a couple. And then, oh no, wait, not in March. Nope. March is one, right? oh yeah, one day in March I pulled 2 cards. Oh my God. It was in April, I think, that I started getting more experimental. Yeah, and it's because I started doing readings for my Thoth study group. And on Thursdays, on Thursdays of the week, I'll pull a couple of cards. And I've been experimenting in that way too. I've been using some other decks and oracles alongside the Thoth. And that's, you know, like it depends on what I'm doing that particular week. I'll kind of rotate in some of the other things that I'm working with. And so some of them have been, and I'll put them in the description box. Some of them have been the Visionary I Ching cards, the and the Nature's Wisdom message cards as well. So, which I have right here. I guess I can show you the book. The Visionary I Ching, and sorry, the Nature's Wisdom message cards I've used with the Thoth for that Thoth study group reading. And then in May I started getting kind of kooky. I was using the Tantric Dakini Oracle, and definitely pulling more than one card. Last month, it depends on my mood. Some days it's 1 card, sometimes it's 2. With my Thoth study group readings, that's really where I get experimental. And sometimes I use like spread positions, and sometimes I just use, just pull cards and see how things land. And now, finally in July, I kind of went back to a little bit more, 1 card. And then today, instead of using the original, I used the Sun and Moon. And the card that I got was, let me grab it. Hold, please. Okay. It's actually, so this is funny because it is strength, but in the Thoth, it's called lust. So I felt like what this was wanting me to work with today is the comparisons between the Waite-Smith strength card and the lust card. And this has a little bit of a mixture of the two because it has it at number 11, but it has the keyword of strength. So that's something for me to explore today. And I might, now that I've been talking about it, go back to my podcast. Alrighty, so that's it. That's kind of like, that's where I am right now with my Thoth study. I am still committed. I've got, the rest of the year to go. I don't know that I'll be pulling Thoth every single day in 2023. But I know for certain that the Thoth Tarot is remaining a part of my practice. And definitely my different versions of it are sticking around. I'm considering trimming this guy, but we'll see. We'll see if we get to that. Anyway, that's it. Thank you guys for sticking around. Let me know if this is something that you enjoyed. If you are also studying Thoth or thinking about studying Thoth, I'd love for you to share that with me. In the comments down below, if you've been enjoying my content. I would love it if you'd consider liking and subscribing. And if this was your first time here, I hope you enjoyed. Maybe you stumbled upon this because you're interested in Thoth, or for whatever reason. I appreciate you hanging out with me, sticking around with me. So I hope that you all have a beautiful, wonderful day.